At the time of this writing, we are well past the 3-year mark for a massive amount of information forced on us as we are demanded to accept it at face value. Now, since the inception of this information, it has become more and more difficult for the cheerleaders of said information to explain the inconsistencies. Now, we have had a long list of things that were once claimed to be conspiracy theories, actually now are proven fact. And yet, to this day, many of these facts are still labeled to be false or inaccurate, or the most favorite phrase in today's news, misinformation. Now, as someone who works in marketing, it has been fascinating and terrifying to witness this firsthand. Now, in a previous video, one of the challenges at the end was to understand the phrase, "This doesn't seem right." Well, there has been a lot that has not seemed right recently, as many ridiculous concepts have been labeled truth, and it appears the overwhelming majority of the public seemingly accepts these truths sight unseen. In reality, they are nothing but outrageous lies. It has appeared that a perfect storm has attacked us and continues to be unrelenting. How do we combat these lies? Is there a methodology we can take hold of and lay as a foundation as we traverse this cultural shift? Hey guys, and welcome to Godly Guy Stuff, a group for guys here to connect and collaborate on how we as men can have a stronger impact on our lives and the lives of those who depend on us. Now, if you're a guy who struggles through life, like me, wondering how to navigate outrageous lies and create godly paths, make sure you subscribe to be part of a place that produces content for an iron sharpens iron environment. Now, I also have a locals community for up-and-coming topics as we continue conversations, and for those who actually wish to, dig deeper in life together. Now, if you've been in any part of conservative social media, and if you're watching this, you have had access to it, you might have actually heard these phrases. We were right about the lab leak. We were right about natural immunity. We were right about masks. We were right about lockdowns. We were right about vaccines. We were right about boosters. We were right about them faking COVID numbers. We were right about the deadly hospital protocol. We were right about ivermectin. We were right about it being a world power grab. Now, Christians for centuries have been labeled eccentric liars. From the beginning, the concept of Christ resurrecting from the dead, it was deemed a lie. And, that lie continues to this day, 2,000 years. So lies do have a solid foundation in today's world and have the ability to implement their tentacles in every fabric of society. Now, we just don't have the luxury of pretending they do not exist, and we can't just create a mental wall and pretend our lives are not impacted by them. What the world wants us to believe. As Christians, the very fabric of our society is intrinsically based on the fundamentals of the life of Christ. Every aspect of every decision that we make should stem from this concept. And yes, every aspect of every decision. So when we take steps towards being in the world but not of the world, this methodology for living comes in direct conflict with the fundamentals of life for the non-Christian. Now, it just makes sense that there is a strategy and a process to take apart the foundation of Christian life. I do want to tread lightly here because I do believe there was no one unscathed by the past 3 to 4 years and the information as it was revealed. Now, at first, it was the virus of unknown origins as it was come to be known instead of the Wuhan virus. 3 years later, even our government finally admits the virus was leaked from a lab in Wuhan. I recall the first press releases and the press conferences back in January of 2020 explaining something had begun in China. There was a deep, deep foreboding within my soul that told me this was going to change everything, and it did. Life was never the same after those news conferences, and I marvel at how far we have adjusted to those initial segments. For a solid year and a half to 2 years, my very soul was yelling at me that every bit of what was happening was wrong, and I wanted to be a part of some sort of truth army. But conservative cultures were struck down in every facet of our society. Our churches were shut down, our small groups were disbanded, we could not go to the stores, the restaurants, movie theaters. We were cut out of social media. Just to give you a glimpse into my own life, here was my journal entry for March 15th, 2020. Lord, well, the country is shutting down, literally. Churches did not meet, schools and universities are closed, restaurants, movie theaters, all forms of public gatherings are now at best discouraged, if not illegal, and now not allowed. The world has succumbed to the coronavirus. It wasn't even an argument between left and right. Everyone sees this for what it is, at least the leaders do. And we have to close our minds and our thoughts to all that is known without a clear understanding of what is to come and how it will return if it can. Even in this early stage, my heart was telling me that this was not right. The lies were so clearly laid out and everyone accepted it. Now, time has demonstrated this to be different. Now, in many aspects, I believe the conservative cultures have become more defined in their stance of what is accepted as truth. Now, we no longer take people at their word simply because they hold a position or even have experience. But this doesn't make us impervious to what lies ahead. And the enemy has not reached the end of their arsenal. Far from it. They are actively pursuing their agenda, and we must continue to take steps to promote truth. How to stand on water and move mountains. When it comes to combating the lies of today's era, it can seem to be an Everest of a situation, or something as impossible as walking on water. But as Christ demonstrated to us, and as we were told in Scripture, our faith is the key to removing these obstacles. Now, many years ago in a business seminar, I heard the phrase, focus on the objectives, not the obstacles. This very much can be used in almost any facet of life, especially in your Christian walk. Now, our objective is to be more Christ-like, to be closer to God in every area of our life. Satan and his followers will plant obstacles in our way to cause us to stumble, become distracted, and ultimately fail. But there are a number of steps we can take in our daily lives to keep our objectives in clear focus, and to give us reminders to ignore or look away from obstacles. First off, is this mountain something only I can take down? Now, we might read a new headline or a new strategy that has been presented by enemies that appear extremely daunting. In fact, that is exactly what it's meant to do. To come make it look as if it's too big to attack or go up against. For the most part, that answer is probably very true in at least a physical form, because the obstacle is not ours to remove, but God's. Now, we have all heard the verse from Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. And he said to them, because of the littleness of your faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. Now, I want to add a real quick question here. Who moves the mountain? Are you to walk over physically and pick up the mountain and move it? No. But are you to have the faith that instigates the action? As an example, a current seemingly immovable object in our culture these days is the transgender movement. It appears this attack on the conservative lifestyle has been fought on many fronts as the gay agenda has evolved into its current form. From schools to libraries to common eateries all over the country, We are seeing sickening displays of morality, being placed in front of children. What just a few years ago would have been deemed child abuse is now openly accepted, not because we want it or have cheered for it, but because it is being forced on us. Yes, there are practical steps that we can all take to basically ignore this issue and to protect our families from it. But ignoring the issue doesn't mean it'll go anywhere. It's not going to go away. If anything, it emboldens it to become louder, stronger, and more forceful. But in all reality, as it stands for the godly guy, the verse above is where the Christian to-do list kind of ends. We are to have faith that a mountain can move, and it will move. But let me ask you this question. Did God say to ignore the mountain or to stand up against it? Now, secondly, walking on water in the midst of a storm. I would like to point out one very different aspect to another common area, involving faith. When Christ was walking on the water towards the disciples in the midst of a storm, did he tell the disciples to focus on the storm or him? You see, faith in these two areas, moving the mountain and walking on water, are two very different aspects of a godly guy's life. Now, when it comes to focusing on our faith in terms of internal struggles and issues, we need to focus on Christ and Christ alone, ignoring the world around us. Now, many headlines of today are going to strike you deeply because they are dismantling these foundations. Now, we as a culture have stood on for decades. So you have to understand that as these strikes are happening, our focus needs to be steadfast on Christ. In reality, nothing else really matters. So they might cast lies on us, call us names, destroy every aspect of our freedoms, and even accomplish some of this successfully. We must be steadfast in our faith that no matter the storm, His plan will endure for us. Even when things do not go our way, and it appears we have lost the battle, we must remember that our faith goes beyond our senses. Wrap up. When it comes to focusing our faith in battle, we need to have our foundation in Him secure so that we can then move steadily forward. And if there's a mountain in the way, have the understanding that it is God who moves it for us at the proper time. It is not by mistake that God chose to use the illustration of a soldier as He places on his armor to demonstrate what a Christian must be prepared for. Now, this is a war. Make no mistake of that. The daily doldrums of our lives might not demonstrate this, and they struggles which you are going through, might not seem important. But these are more lies. And for this week, understand these challenges. When the newest lies present themselves before us, and we know it is not to be truth, make sure your faith is solely secured on Christ. Understand that no matter what the lie may state, this cannot be taken away. Now next, do you have the tools in place to move this mountain? For the most of us, the only tool that our arsenal is the strongest tool available, and that's prayer. It shocks me how much Christendom ignores this tool. Now let me end with Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 18. A final word. Be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. Put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against all strategies of the devil. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. Therefore, it's coming, put on every piece of God's armor, so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then after the battle, you will be standing firm. Stand your ground. Put on the belt of truth and the body armor of God's righteousness. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news so that you will be fully prepared. In addition to all these, hold up your shield of faith to stop the fiery arrows of the devil. Put on salvation as your helmet and take the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Pray in the Spirit at all times and on every occasion. Stay alert and be persistent in your prayers for all believers everywhere. Now it's your turn. All right, what did I miss today? Do you believe there is a different tactic that can be used to combat the lies as they come to us? Are there any other avenues that need to be presented? Now, I do understand that this is another rather hefty topic, and it probably deserves an entire series of its own. Maybe there will be something that will be coming down the road. But hey, guys, let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening throughout another entire video today. And please definitely follow me or join up with the Godly Guy group, on Gab. Gab is the launching headquarters of the content that is produced for Godly Guy Stuff. So if you're watching this on some other platform, you're missing quite a lot, probably on Facebook or Twitter. There's more content on Gab. Now, there's also a Godly Guy Stuff Locals community where I post content for upcoming videos. So you can find even more videos, sneak peeks, deeper personal connections with me, and future casting on upcoming ideas. So if you want to see what I am working on currently, you go to Gab. For upcoming topics, head on over to Locals. Now, links are in the descriptions to check out everything. And of course, I look forward to talking and having the conversation continue. Thanks.